You're joining the Loudr Lawyer Network, the podcast where we sit down with the law firm owners, attorneys, and visionaries that are making the most noise in the legal landscape nationwide to find out the secrets to their success. Other podcasts think they're getting loud, but we're getting louder. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Loudr Lawyer Network, where we help attorneys scale to $1 million months through positive strategies and connections, through powerful strategies and connections, I might say. And my guest today is Lauren Pilié. Lauren, how are you doing? I hope I didn't jack up your name.
You did a great job. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Welcome to the show. I looked over your impressive. You're known as the Louisiana Law Lady, correct?
Yes, sir.
And just an impressive resume. Seeing what you've done, being married, being a mother, a wife, carrying on with 3 kids, and building the practice you have. But I want you to take us back. Take us back before you ever decided to become a lawyer, and take us back to what it was that made you specifically go into PI work.
So it'd probably be tough to go back far enough to go before I wanted to be a lawyer, because I always wanted to be a lawyer. That's all I can ever remember wanting to be. I've always been a fighter, a debater. So I was naturally drawn to that, I think, my whole life. My journey into personal injury happened later when I started being a lawyer. I worked for the insurance companies and in Atlanta, and it was a little rat racy. I did not love my job. And I moved to New Orleans. I switched sides and I started doing PI work, and I loved it. And I did not think I was going to. I kind of took the job hesitantly. I didn't know if it was going to be a good fit, and it was my thing.
What was the switch that got you? You said so you've always known you wanted to be a lawyer. That's a beautiful thing. Always wanted to be a lawyer. You were on the defense side, right?
Yes.
You were on the defense side. So you were essentially the person that. Now, was it just insurance defense perhaps on the behalf of insurance companies, or was it defense like for people who were criminal or doing bad things?
It was no criminal work, so all civil defense, and I represented a bunch of different insurance companies. We had a lot of clients, but I was representing State Farm, Progressive, and it was all kinds of cases: car wrecks, batteries, things that happen in your home, boating accidents. So it was a broad practice, which was good because I learned a lot of things, but it was always on the part of the insurance company and trying to minimize how much we had to pay people.
Right. So tell me how that process worked. What made you do the switch from being on the side of the defense, on the civil side, to coming to the side of the plaintiff?
I moved to New Orleans and I got barred in Louisiana, and I was looking for a job, and I was applying for defense jobs because that's all I had done. It just seemed like that's what I should keep doing. And I applied for one plaintiff's job, and I got an offer from a plaintiff's firm on, say, a Tuesday, and I accepted. And then Wednesday, I got an offer from a defense firm. And I told them, I've already accepted this position. I don't want to back out. I'm going to see how it goes. And so it was just happenstance. It was different by a day. And it ended up being a perfect fit for me.
Wow. Take me back to your first case with a plaintiff. How was that?
It was a learning curve in the beginning. I was used to dealing with insurance adjusters, and you have reporting requirements, and everybody's a professional, and the job is just totally different. Working on the plaintiff side, I had to learn how to deal with regular people that had very immediate problems, like being out of their car, out of work, in pain, and learning how to fix those problems quickly, be a support system for them. It required a whole different set of skills, but it was skills that I already had just from being a human.
Right. So when you knew the other thing from your position, not only being human, but you kind of knew what the insurance companies or the defense side was thinking. So it gives you the upper hand to get around those those variables that might have been obstacles.
Correct. It was a huge advantage having worked on the other side, because I know what they're looking for. I know what their reports look like. So, and it also enabled me to quickly identify the bad parts of my case. I did not look at my cases with rose-colored glasses. I knew where my problem areas were, and I was not blind to it.
Right. I was going to ask you, when you went into PI, when you went into the PI side, what was the most impactful case where you decided, like, I can do this? This is where I'm making career at.
When you really help somebody and you change somebody's life, it just feels so good. Nothing I ever did on the defense side felt great, but there were many moments that felt good doing personal injury work. I mean, I can give you an example from 4 days ago. I'm sitting in my backyard and I get a phone call from an old client. His case wrapped up years ago. And he said, "Miss Lauren, I'm just calling because I wanted to tell you we broke ground today on our house.
Wow.
And because of you, we were able to pay cash for our land. We're paying cash for our build. We are debt free. And I had to call you and tell you because it's totally due to your work in our case, and it has changed our life."
Wow.
And you can't put an amount of money on a phone call like that.
No, not at all. I mean, that's a priceless moment. Being out in the South, well, you're from Atlanta and now you're in Louisiana. We know that that's where middle America, a lot of trucking goes through. I love seeing the fact that you specialize in trucking accidents, but not only are you know the law of it, you actually know how to operate a truck. Tell me about that journey.
I started focusing on trucking cases about 10 years ago, and I was kind of dabbling in it, and I was doing enough to know that I did not know enough. And I started working these cases, and I realized that they were complex. They had a whole different language, a whole different set of rules, and I didn't know them. And I didn't like feeling like I wasn't doing a totally complete job on these cases. I had blind spots. So I went all in on trucking, and I decided, like, what's the best way to learn about trucking cases? Learn to drive trucks. So I went to my local trucking school and drove trucks all around New Orleans, and I was doing pre-trip inspections, learning about how they operate. I mean, you just can't replace that experience with anything that you do in your day-to-day practice.
That's amazing. Did anyone ever try to give you a job to come trucking?
No, admittedly, I wasn't a great truck driver.
You said something. So a trucking accident, can you walk us through the difference between a motor vehicle accident and a trucking accident? Because 9 times out of 10, most trucking accidents are involved with motor vehicles, are they not?
They are. I mean, I have a lot of truck-on-truck cases too, because trucks tend to be in the same places. But there are a ton of truck-on-car cases. They call them four-wheelers. So it could be car, pickup truck, whatever. But, small vehicle versus huge 18-wheeler. And that's generally what happens. And trucking cases are very different from just a regular auto case. And the problem is a lot of attorneys don't know that. I did not know that in the beginning. I treated them just like any other car accident case.
Right.
And once I realized how different they were, it enabled me to put pressure on the points where I needed to get evidence, where I was going to make the insurance company uncomfortable, and really maximize the value in those cases for my clients.
Tell me, give me an example of a difference between a trucking accident versus a car accident, in terms of, like, with a trucking accident, most trucking are work for major companies, whereas motor vehicle accident is just the person driving the car, and you go to the insurance company. But you have to go through a few steps to get to the cause of things, because the truck could be malfunctioning. There's a whole lot of variables.
So there is a ton of information available in a trucking case that's not even going to exist in a regular car wreck case.
Right.
Because a truck driver is subject to a whole set of rules that you and I are not even subject to when we get behind the wheel. Like when you go to the grocery store, you get in, do you just walk up, you open the door, you get in the car and you drive to the grocery store?
Yeah.
That's what happens, right?
Yeah.
A truck driver doesn't do that. Before a truck driver can get in and start his day, he has to do a pre-trip inspection. And that takes about 20 minutes. And that's before he can even drive out of his driveway. And that pre-trip inspection is documented, and it's documented on a system. And you have to send a letter at the beginning of a trucking case to say, preserve that inspection, because they don't have to keep it forever. So that's just one little tiny example of one of the myriad of things that they're subject to.
Wow. That's very interesting. My sister got hit by a semi when she was on the side of a road, and I know that they had to go through a whole series of things in Georgia. She got hit in Georgia. Yeah. She got hit in Georgia by a semi. It pushed her. It didn't go over the rail, but it pushed her up against the where you're going over the overpass.
Yeah.
So the wall and that side of it and stuff. I'm just blessed that we're blessed that she was, nothing happened to her or the driver that was bad. I mean, she got hurt, but she was able to come out of that. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. That's seen some horrible trucking accidents, man.
Yes. They're really scary.
Yeah. Wow. That's when you were in school, I saw that you took a mechanic class. Tell me about how your love for working on motorcycles and cars came into effect. Because you're like a doctor that knows the human body. It's like every aspect of vehicles, motorcycles, trucks. I mean, that's a skill in itself. And on top of that, you're an attorney.
Yes.
So that makes you like what they say in the entertainment business, you're a quadruple threat.
Thank you. So I didn't take a mechanic class. I worked as a mechanic. That was my job in college.
What?
Yeah.
Self-taught? How did
I worked, and to be fair, I was not like replacing engines. I don't know every in and out of the vehicle, but I worked at Tires Plus, which was down the street from my apartment in college. And I would work on tires, brake jobs, changing oil. Like I said, I can't rebuild an engine, but I did learn a lot about vehicles and how they work.
Right. Which is, that's a great skill to have, especially being down south and being on some of those roads nights. If you break down, being able to call and detect what is happening in your car, right? Even before the mechanic or the tow truck get there, right?
Yeah.
That's a skill. It's an impressive skill to have. Where'd you go to school?
University of Georgia.
Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, I went there twice. I'm a double dog, so I went there for college and law school.
Oh yeah, I saw something about. I was looking at your social media. Wasn't stalking you. Was looking at the media, and I saw something about Harvard. About Harvard.
I did not go to Harvard, so that was not on my social media.
No, I don't know if it was a story or something that was how hard Harvard is. I don't know if it was a skit. I don't know. I was like looking. I don't know if it was on. I don't know where it was, but I saw something about Harvard. Not written.
I did not go there.
Just speaking. No. Okay.
Nope.
All right. Cool. Nothing wrong with Harvard. Nothing wrong with Georgia. Tell me about what is the biggest myth in personal injury that you found since you've been practicing? The biggest myth that either needs to go away or needs to be corrected about PI attorneys.
Yeah, so PI attorneys have a terrible reputation. Ambulance chasers, skeezy, greedy people. That's generally the perception of the public, I think, for personal injury lawyers. And that is so far off the mark. And I know where people get it from. Sometimes you see advertisements and they're so cringy. So I understand where it comes from. But the vast, vast majority of PI lawyers are very competent and they're compassionate and they're helping people, and they end up doing a lot of stuff for free that people don't see. And there's this myth that we're just like making up cases and frivolous lawsuits. And that could not be further from the truth. We don't get paid unless we win. So I don't take cases that are frivolous or that don't have evidentiary support. I'm going to back a case that I believe in. And I think most plaintiffs' attorneys feel that way. And if you have to go all the way to trial, you're not bringing some nonsense, frivolous case to a court for a week or two of trial in front of a jury. If it's really a nothing case, if frivolous, then you're going to lose. And again, we don't get paid if we lose. So I don't know where that perception came from, that we just have all these made up cases that we're bringing to court. That could not be further from the truth.
That leads me into what I told you. I was watching your social media page. You had something that's a saying that says, sometimes the best way to get to a new destination is to walk away and leave the old one. Tell me what you mean by that. I love that.
So I worked at a big firm for years, and that's where I learned how to be a plaintiff's attorney, and it was a wonderful experience. But eventually I wanted my own firm, and it was a really scary decision for me. I had to take a big leap because I had a very safe and secure job, and I knew I was always going to have cases to work on. I knew I could do a good job on those cases, and it's hard to leave something that is secure and just totally branch out on your own. But that's what I did when I started my firm. It was a little over a year ago, and it's been an adventure.
Wait. Your firm is just a little over a year old?
Yes.
I had no idea.
Yes.
Wow.
So I'm a baby law firm, even though I've been a lawyer a long time.
Okay, so what made you come to that decision? Like, I want to do my own firm. Like, take me to that journey.
I started my brand before I started my law firm. So my social media is more than a year old because I started putting myself out there because I wanted people to know me as a lawyer, not just where I worked. And it went well. And it grew over time, and I was getting more opportunities, like more speaking engagements. I was meeting more attorneys in other states. It had benefits that I didn't even anticipate. But it also came with some friction because I worked at another firm, but I was building my own brand, and nobody had really done that before. So we didn't know how to navigate that. And eventually it just got to the point where it's like, look, if you want your own thing, then you need to go do your own thing. And so when I got time where I had to make that decision, then I said, all right, I believe in this. I believe in myself. I'm going to do it.
That's beautiful. With following that, I've seen your accolades. National Alliance of Attorneys had you as Attorney of the Year in 2024. You were the national top 40 under 40 trial lawyers. What are the other ones there?
The thing I'm probably most proud of is my board certification in trucking law. That one involved some work. I mean, it was like taking the bar again. I had to get references. I had to take a test. I studied for months. I had to prove that I had enough experience to even take it. So that certification is something that I probably worked the hardest for, so I'm the most proud of it. And that's from the National Board of Trial Advocacy. And then last year, they pick one person per certification. Like I have trucking, there's, I think, maybe 9 other areas. And they picked me to be their award recipient for last year. So that one meant a lot to me because it was a certification that I had worked so hard to get in the first place.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Wow, that's a big achievement. You know what I liked about you, or what I like about you, is how you incorporated Disney. Like, you're a Disney buff, and I figured that's what being a family of, you've always been a Disney fan, but you had a little thing in there that says, I'm here, what do you need? And in your dealing with your clients, you're the person. There's no buffer between you. You give people your cell number, and people are able to reach out and talk to you. And a lot of attorneys aren't like that. you know, there's a lot of ego involved, but you seem to be so down to earth and so forthcoming, like, you know, leading with your heart. And I'm going to say, because you're from the South, you're from, you know, that Georgia upbringing is where that comes from. Take me how did you get to that journey and hold on to it with all your success?
I spent a lot of time with my grandparents growing up. They lived next door to me. They had a garden. My granddaddy was a preacher. They were just salt of the earth people. And I didn't know at the time, growing up in their church, always being around old people, always giving away vegetables, visiting the nursing homes, going to hospitals when people were sick. I had no idea that was training, essentially, that was going to be more pivotal in my law career than almost anything else I had done. You know, I was going to funerals and dealing with grief and heartache very early in life, so it wasn't scary. So then becoming a lawyer, when you're thrust into some of the worst times of people's life, and it's very emotional, you can't shy away from that. Like, you got to be all in and be the bastion for people to lean on, because you're their strength. You know, they don't know what to do. You're their person.
Right.
So it helped so much growing up in that kind of environment where it wasn't icky, and I can pray with people if they need that, and I can be there when they're crying, and it's not cringy. Like, it was just easy for me. And that's what's enabled me to get so close to my clients. It's why they trust me. It's why they all have my cell phone number. And it was easy to give them my cell phone number, because to their credit, they're not calling me at 3 a.m. They're very respectful of that. And it gives them a lot of comfort to know, even if they're not calling, like, they could if they needed to.
Right. No, that's so beautiful. I mean, for you to talk about your faith and praying, I mean, we all need prayer day by day, by day by day, getting through life. I mean, that I do. I stand. I just stand in His peace, in our Savior's peace, you know, and I think that's very important. And I think that's why you're having the success that you are, because you're staying rooted on the foundation of Jesus Christ. You're not wandering anywhere. You're not driven by money. You know, I'm talking to you. I don't even know you, but I know you. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful moment. Speaking of clients, how many clients are you doing a month now?
My current caseload is over 100. It varies month to month how many cases come in and go, but I say over 100. And I don't want to get a whole lot bigger, because I'm only one person, so I can't handle, you know, every single case.
How do you go about marketing?
All kinds of different ways. Getting out and meeting people and just expanding my network has been wonderful. Now I have more flexibility to be able to do stuff like that. I have my clients have always had my cell phone number. So I have a lot of past clients that either will call me back if something else happens. They recommend me to friends and family. So they're a wonderful referral source, and their opinion counts a lot with people because they have actually used me.
Right. I see you're over in 10, is that satellite areas that you have? Like, there's 10 areas that you're in that I saw.
I practice statewide.
Statewide?
I've always had cases from all over the state, and that has continued even out on my own.
Wow, that's wonderful. What does the future look like for Louisiana Law Lady? I mean, you're branded. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
What does the future look like for you? Are you going to get other proteges in under you to take on? I mean, trucking isn't going anywhere fast. So the fact that you are certified in that, I just see you growing. I mean, that's just an area where you're going to grow, and not only in the state of Louisiana, but take that all across the South.
So the firm has been doing well. I will say growth is wonderful, but it's also difficult. So that has probably been my biggest pain point, is figuring out how to grow, because it takes infrastructure and technology and new skills and things that I didn't have to learn as an associate working for somebody else. Once you start a firm, it's all on you. So that's been, it's good and bad, you know, so I'm trying to grow responsibly because I want to still make sure every client is taken care of. So I don't want to grow too fast.
Right. Your story, like just listening to you and watching the way that you articulate and move through your story and who you are is just going to bring more people to you. They're just going to flock to you because of who you are. And I think that, you know, having the right marketing team around you, and that's what we'll talk later about. Loudr Media specializes in really pulling out the best of attorneys and helping them scale. I mean, that's what we do. We help individuals scale, and you are an ideal candidate for that because you have done a lot of work just naturally. It's like if you were to be cast for a leading role in a Disney film or anything, you already have it, you know? And I think that's beautiful. You're very blessed.
Yeah, it's been wonderful.
Huh?
It's the journey of law firm owner has been wonderful. It's been the hardest thing I've ever done, but also probably the most fulfilling professionally.
Being in your professionalism, how do you hold that together with being a great mom and a wife? Tell me about that balance. How do you balance all those together?
It admittedly it's hard because starting a business requires a lot of time and emotional fortitude, and it pulls me away from my family sometimes. However, it's also given me flexibility that I didn't have before. Like today, this week, one of my kids gets out at camp at noon. That's a terrible time to get out of camp, but it was so easy to run over, pick her up. I'm working from home, and it just incorporates so easily into life now because I can make those decisions and I can do things midday and everything is close to my house, and now I can work from home. That part has been great. My kids are 12, 10, and 5 right now.
Oh man, great
And
ages.
so we're busy, we're in the thick of it. But I will say, like, there's a reason I didn't have a law firm when they were 5 and 3 and infant.
Right.
You know, we needed to get past that because I knew how much work this was going to be. And I wanted my babies to grow up some before I went down this path.
Wow. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So if you were to, a young protege comes to you or your younger self, what would you tell, what you know today, what would you tell the younger version of you that's looking to get into law?
I'm obviously a fan of personal injury law, so I would encourage somebody to explore that field. Admittedly, it's not for everybody. You have to have a certain level of risk tolerance. You have to be able to connect with your clients, and not everybody can do that. But I think it's a wonderful area of law that gets a bad rap, and it shouldn't. So I wish more people would consider it. So I guess that would be my piece of advice for somebody going into law early on.
Yeah. When you hear the term Loudr Lawyer Network, when you hear the term Loudr Lawyer, tell me what that means to you.
For me, as a female law firm and personal injury law firm owner, I think, you know, I'm in the minority there. Generally speaking, there's not a ton of female PI lawyers. There's a lot of female defense lawyers. And I think because defense work is much more steady and you get a steady paycheck and you understand your hours. PI work comes with a lot of risk, which comes with a lot of stress. You know, there's some months you make $0, and then some months you have a great month. So it's not steady. And I think, especially for young women raising a family, that can be a deterrent. So to me, being a Loudr lawyer is being a woman in this field. And not only that, but starting a business. You know, as there's so few women lawyers in this field anyway, and even fewer that own their own firms.
Right.
I wish there were more, and there are becoming more. And I'm in groups with them, and it's funny how similar we all are in our personalities and our lifestyles. So I think that being a Loudr lawyer for me is doing exactly what I'm doing.
No, that's well said. And your actions already talk about being involved, since you have young kids and things, being involved in the community, having that support and people seeing what you're doing, just speaks volumes, to have that community come around you and support what you're doing, and changing so many lives. You changed so many lives.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. If someone wants to get a hold of you, tell them how to get a hold of you.
Well, my number is 504 Law Lady. So it's pretty easy to remember. And I'm on all the socials, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. My handle on everything is Louisiana Law Lady.
Louisiana Law Lady. Lauren, thank you so much for being a guest here on Loudr Lawyer Network. Look forward to talking to you in the future.
Yes, thank you, Raje.
Thank you.
Thanks for being a part of the Loudr Lawyer Network. If you're enjoying the conversation, let us know. Give us a like and subscribe to never miss a thing. We'll see you next time right here on the Loudr Lawyer Network.